From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and I don't know why I'm appearing, because I put my light almost over my little camera guy. We've been doing this for a couple years now, and I've almost got it down.
You and I are recording this in a very busy week, as we said on our previous episodes. We don't need to remix all of it, but yes, I have forgotten many things I need to do today. So, Comic-Con, here I come. We've got a Star Wars question before we get to that. We also want to remind you, if I can remember what I'm trying to remind you of. I tell you, it's a Monday. We're recording this. As always, our podcast is brought to you by Fourth Wall, which is our very own merch shop on said Fourth Wall. Head to ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall.com to pick up a pint glass t-shirt, tote bag, something. I got to add those stickers. Oh, man, people ask for stickers, and I didn't put a note. I didn't put it in my calendar. I'm learning to live with ADHD a lot better than I used to, and I forgot to put the reminder in. I got to get them stickers.
I can't function without my extensive to-do list on both my phone and my computer, so I'll set a sticker alert, too.
Please, remind me. But anyways, head to ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall. ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall.com. Should we start over? Not just the podcast. Let's go back to 2015 and start this all over again.
We can do it. I believe in us.
We also have a goal over on Patreon. Why don't you speak, since you're better at talking?
I don't think anyone would ever say that. Master broadcaster Ken Napzok. See, I am better at talking. We have a Patreon goal. We are, as of this recording, at 405 paid patrons. We'd love to get to 417 paid patrons by the time of the release of the physical media edition of The Mandalorian and Grogu, which I'm excited about. It's got some good bonus features. It's got a commentary by Jon Favreau. Is it the same commentary that was released in theaters? I think probably it is. But what if there were two commentaries? Amazing. So we would love getting to that help. No, it's a hard time financially for everybody, but even if you can do $2 a month, it would be great to have more people join our community. You get into the Discord. You can have friendly, fun conversations about Star Wars. Get to ask more questions, like on this episode. Get to call into some of our live shows that we do on Friday. So really doing everything we can to make it that it isn't just supporting us financially. It's adding a deeper community to people's love of Star Wars.
Indeed. Getting that Discord there. Guys, something you got me thinking of something. I don't want to spoil. Everyone go see Dead Media, by the way. There's a ton of great uses of the concept of DVDs and DVD extras. You talked about the Favreau comment. That's what got me thinking about it. The commentary track. You have a great use of director commentary track in Dead Media. So putting that little carrot out. If you're thinking about seeing Dead Media, go see it for that bid. All right. Let's press on. You know what? I'll disclose what happened. You and I recorded one episode. We released it on Monday. We took about a 10-minute break, and then I went outside to feed my squirrels.
Yeah.
And it's been warm. It's been hot. Today's hot, but not as hot as it has been the last couple of days. And I got some air and a breeze, and I was out there with little squirrels, and I made my little squirrel feeding sound. My come here, and that gets them all over here. And then I was like, now I have to go back in the hot, stuffy studio. I want to work. I want to record ForceCenter. I just like to stand outside a little longer, and I think my brain got a little discombobulated.
We should organize recording a special episode with the squirrels. Where
we should, yes.
Where we're talking about Star Wars, but just in the background, you are feeding squirrels the entire time. I'd be up for that.
Well, the Star Wars lesson I'm currently trying to put into my squirrel life is that no one is ever really gone, because the original cast of my squirrels from last summer have moved on. And I know squirrels can be a little nomadic in the sense of those little squirrels, and they know what they're doing. They work, so they'll come to my place, but there's probably another house. I know 2 streets over, there's an old dude feeding. I've caught him feeding squirrels, and he's competing with mine. But my original 3, 4, 5 squirrels are in other spots, and I keep telling myself they're just on an adventure. They'll be back. Nothing bad has happened to them. I'll see them again. So I'm having to create connections with the new cast of Squirrels.
You are living a Pixar movie where it's like I can see animated Ken looking over longingly, like they go to Glenn's yard now.
Yeah.
Okay, times change.
Don't go to that yard. He's MAGA. You come over here. Get some progressive peanuts. Anyway. All right. We got a Star Wars question to get to. To read it, I must put on the glasses. Our question is, what should Star Wars look like going forward is kind of the topic. IVO, question here. Hi, Ken and Joseph. What do you think the cinematography of Star Wars should look like in the next decade? Would you, for example, like to see more of Gareth Edwards' sense of scale in Rogue One, Abrams' dynamic camera movement, or return to Lucas's more static visual style, or something completely different? I'd love to hear your thoughts on what direction the franchise's visual identity could take moving forward. Now, I'll start this by saying, Joseph, I am kind of dummy when it comes to film. I went to film school, started for 2 years, was on the track. I was going to come to LA and complete it. And I always make the joke about, directing wasn't just standing on set and pointing. But literally, one of the first classes, they were like, all right, here's the camera lenses. And I'm like, I'm out. I can't do this. I don't have this brain. So I'm going to lean on your expertise, having just shot a film and been shooting short films in bulk. You've been doing a lot of short films the last couple of years. Even while making a feature, you're shooting shorts. All this stuff makes sense to me. I understand what Ivo is asking, but there's a lot more to it. So I'll lean on you here to start out with where do you think this could all go?
Yeah, I think, and honestly, for me, like I'm on the journey of learning about cinematography, and I think I have learned a lot artistically about how do I want a camera to move and why? What do I want the lighting to look like and why? But I know that there's some of our ForceCenter listeners who are, actually far more knowledgeable than me about which lens to use and which lens did Abrams use on that shot, and that is part of the filmmaking journey. I have done stuff myself, but I've also worked with a super pro, Matthias Schubert, who is the cinematographer on Dead Media and the short we did together, Nightmare Adorable. So I think my big picture answer to this is I want it to be distinctive. And I want the cinematography to match the story of the film. And I think a discussion that's happening around a lot of film and in TV shows in particular is there's a little bit of a blander, softer, more desaturated look that is more friendly to VFX. And I think that we are kind of, I think a lot of us, even if you don't know it, your eyes are hungry for distinctive, for the story is told in the way the camera moves. The story is told in the way it's lit. The story is told in the color grading, which one could argue is separate from cinematography, but it's all a part of what does this look like at the end of the day? And based on how it looks, how does it make you feel? And what does it tell you about the characters and the world? And all these great examples of the different kinds of cinematography we've seen in Star Wars, I think, are about what did the director want to communicate. So that's my starting gambit of I want it to look more distinctive, so it doesn't sort of look like, why are so many big budget things starting to look very similar by the end of the day? And I want it to be distinctive to the specific story. So that's my starting point. What's your starting point?
No, well said. And what you're talking about, I want to make sure I'm on the same page. You see the memes go around of like, what the hell happened? Where you're like, used to be a bright red villain's coat. Now it's, is that maroon? Like, are you kind of referencing that?
Yes, a sense of
phenomenon,
a sense of muddiness, and like I said,
muddiness.
I think there's probably many great blockbusters where a great cinematographer in their team lit the hell out of it, and it was a deep lurid red and a deep rich black where everything else disappears, and then the color grading would happen. But I'm kind of lumping that in because at the end of the day, it's what does it look like when we see it? Because it doesn't matter if it was beautifully lit on set and then super desaturated, so that red isn't powerful anymore, but the rocks from the character punching the earth look more believable. Like,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it makes sense. I like the talking about distinctive look, and this is just over. This question was like the overall look of Star Wars. I think I divided it in my brain a little bit down to the different trilogies and how they all look different, right? Same universe, similar vibes. Everything's connected, but without a doubt, prequels have a different just feel to them for reasons documented for decades now, good or bad, whether you like it or not. It just feels different, and I've come to really love that look that they have there. And that includes Doug Chiang's designs of the N1, all that kind of stuff. Whatever's going on there, that's beyond cinematography. But that original trilogy, yes, we know George and his the more static wides or whatever it might be there. You can talk more about that, but it looks all kind of connected. And then the sequels, which I think are shot beautifully, and they do have a big feel to them. I would like something where the next 10, 11, and 12 have their own kind of feel, like you said, based on their story, based on the need. But I would like it to just do its own thing as opposed to just being the house style for the industry right now.
Yeah. No, I really agree with that. And I think this list of how things were shot, I know I've recommended it before, but not recently. There's a series from the British Film Institute of those thin little books that's like an essay on famous films. There's hundreds of them. They go back years. I picked one up about Star Wars because I was just like, and then that's fine. But my wife picked it up and read the back of it. And what it's really talking about is the tension in Lucas between seeing himself as a rebel, because he's, always kind of against the institutions and, believes in intuition and going out there and being plucky and doing your own thing. But that he's also but I want everything to be perfect. And that there is, he sees the Empire in himself. But as a part of this great discussion, it really talks about how he filmed Star Wars, because this is just about the first film. And the intention that he had of, I'm going to cast actors who are really charming and are really close to their characters. And then I'm going to set the camera pretty far away from them so they kind of forget they're being filmed. And then with a lens that, capture them close up. So it's not like we feel them far away, but like Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, they're bantering away because they kind of feel like they're doing a little play because the camera's way the hell over there. So I think that that's a great insight, and if people want to check out that book. So I think that was so intentional. There's a lot of stories about, he didn't have as much control over the cameras he wanted because of the traditions of British filmmaking. They say in the Empire of the Dreams that you tell me what you want, young man, and then I will do it. You don't tell me how to do it. And then, I love the way Rise of Skywalker is shot. And I know some people won't, but Ivo calls it out. There is a ton of this camera is moving in action scenes that are that's, a oneer that swoops around. There's a scene where, in particular, Poe and Finn and Rey are trying to rescue Chewie and running through that ship, and it spins around and it follows them and it comes in front of them, and then the trooper falls and it swoops down, and then Finn jumps over it, and the combination of there is movement in the frame and then the camera itself is moving. And I've never heard Abrams talk about it, but what I have heard Abrams talk about is, for at the time, we'll see what happens, wrapping up the saga, I want to go back to basics of this is about family, this is about community, and in the themes he goes back to the basics. And I think some of that really dynamic camera movement is him, this is just an opinion, no facts to back it up, right, trying to make, in a modern context, the film feel as full of movement as Star Wars did to him in 1977. And we've got different technology. Things have only got, faster and faster. It's funny to hear people now talk about Star Wars is cut so fast. It moves so fast. People in 1977 is like, whoa, it's so fast. I can barely keep up with it. And then, a 9-year-old watches it and is like, oh my God, I'm falling asleep, Yeah. So I think it's Abrams trying to translate, this is how thrilling Han running through the Death Star felt to me, but now I can just whip that camera around. So that to me is a great example of using cinematography to capture, what do you want the audience to feel? What is in you that you're like, I feel this and I want the audience to feel it.
Yeah, you're again. I don't have all this stuff top of mind, so I go with emotions and gut and what I feel. And when I answer of 7, 8, and 9, my favorite to watch is Rise of Skywalker. That is number one, a true statement, and two, it's a lot about what you're talking about. When I think of it, I think of zoom, whiz, zip. Like I think of the Falcon trying to escape TIE fighters at the beginning. I think the Pisana chase scene. Whether it's the flying stormtroopers, whether they all knew it or not, doesn't matter to me. They're moving. Those skiffs they're on are moving. They're running through the hallways, like you said. The ship's line, and there's just it just moves and has an energy to it that I absolutely love. That is at its core is Star Wars. And yeah, you're right. I've had conversations with folks of like the old ones don't stand up. They don't stand up as much. And it's like, what are you talking about? The speeder bike sequence. But it's building on the speeder bike sequence. It's going, we can do this now, and do it in a different way. And not the other Star Wars things don't have this kind of movement, but they do. Rogue One doesn't. To me, it has a lot of other wonderful things going for it. Solo has its own thing going for it. We can talk about how those things look too in a sec. But yeah. Rise of Skywalker is distinctive to me in the sequel trilogy for that stuff.
Yeah. I think my favorite cinematography in Star Wars is Peter Truschitzky's Empire Strikes Back work. It's all those shadows that go with the story of darkness that you would not. I mean, it gets talked about a lot in Doctor Who, like because of various union rules. A lot of times, like the union crew would just be like, "This is how you light a show. You can't turn one of the lights off in the studio because then people won't see things." And like everybody would design these, monsters that were made out of rubber and paper mache, and they look really cool if you turned off half the lights, and really dumb if you turned on all the lights.
No.
And just imagine Empire Strikes Back if like the tree cave was quite brightly lit. And Luke's face wasn't half in shadows. Imagine, the carbon freezing chamber with even one more light on than is on in the carbon freezing chamber. That's about the lighting. And then about, making Dead Media, I was on to Matthias about like, I need Empire Strikes Back shots, which meant one of the powers of Empire Strikes Back is letting the camera linger on a pretty tight close-up of a character for a second longer. So you feel what they're feeling. I think, the cinematography really, really helps tell the story of Luke and Han knowing that they could maybe not see each other again. And they're searching for what to say. And then the camera just stays on Han's dead serious face for a minute, or Leia waiting for news about Han and Luke as the door closes. That I think Last Jedi is calling back to with that fabulous shot of Carrie Fisher. I think it can be everything from the lighting to like how many moments are still and how long is it held, which gets into editing, but
yeah, true.
But you can't edit it if you didn't get the shot. You need to have the right lens to have the close up and the right kind of lighting on the person's face. So like there's weight there,
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I remember reading somewhere about how they shot Vader in Empire Strikes Back. Just that's the standard, right? They set it there. They figured out how to do it, and everyone should be tested against that. I would talk about Rogue One and Solo, and I love the look of both. And I've said before, I think in general, I'd like my Star Wars films to look like either of those films. Andor has the obviously Rogue One vibe, but with a little bit more time, technology, and maybe even more money when you break it down. I don't know. Solo was funny with one of the little many controversies around that film, but part of it was a lot of people didn't like the way it looked. It was too dark. I couldn't see. And one of the theaters I saw it in did have, I was like, okay, I get what people are saying, but that's something in the theater and not the way it was shot. I love how I love how it looks. I love the natural lighting. I love it. Just was a lived in world to me. What's your thoughts on those films and how they might relate to anything going forward?
Yeah, I love the look of Solo, and I think that could be a path forward. It's all practical lighting. A lot of times the audience could actually, the lights were part of the environment, like the great Ford Ipso set, where like those lights are the lights. And a lot of theaters in particular, sorry, AMC, but they're trying to cut money, and you don't really need a projectionist team. Everybody can just hit play on a DCP that's already loaded, a digital cinema package. And then so people don't change bulbs, and it's not as bright, and most films can survive that. And Solo is like, it's a beautiful, delicate, artistic masterpiece that needs to be projected correctly, and a lot of theaters did not project it correctly, and it was on that razor's edge of it works beautifully if it's projected correctly. I think that was great, because I think one of the things that always makes Star Wars succeed is that whole lived-in thing. Does it feel, while you're watching aliens laugh at Han Solo for losing Sabacc, does it feel real? And having that, the real light sources, the intimate light sources feel real. It's, I feel like some of the best films are told, the first image tells you what the film is, and the last image tells you what the film is. And the first image is literally a spark in the dark as Han tries to get something going. And I think a lot of the films flows from that idea of little bits of light when you're surrounded by darkness. And when is this shot static? Because that's how Han is feeling. And when does it start bleeping moving? Because that's what he wants. And it ends with the Falcon bleeping, taking off, shove forward, and an explosion forward, of energy. I think it uses all of the tools to help you feel what Han is feeling.
Absolutely. That's a great breakdown on it. Again, I go with what my gut tells me, and then something like that, I was like, oh yeah, that's all of it's connecting with me, because that's what I outside of, if you're a cinephile or got the experiences you have of making stuff, I think you want people like me to be going, I don't know, but I love that. I'm connecting with that.
Right.
It's something subconscious. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, I think we have a subconscious connection to film language, but then we also have this kind of like all of this learned and experienced history with it. And you don't have to study it, just like we talked about with themes. It's you can break them down like we do, but you should just feel it. I love what Ivo says about Rogue One's sense of scale. Like, yes, Gareth Kaiju Edwards. He has he's the way he is filming, a lot of things on Scarif, from the sort of changing perspective from the very intimate to the camera, looking up at, monsters coming in through the trees, or, I think he does sell the sense of scale of, Jin being up in a high precarious place, and all those things all throughout. I think sense of scale is great. I think the lighting looks great. I think Andor is really fascinating too, because there's a great interview with Tony Gilroy where he said they started shooting the first episodes and he made them reshoot it. And he's talking about, it's like, we're not just doing the standard masters. So I'm sure most people listening to this are incredibly film savvy, but like, the wisdom is, get a wide shot, get your close-ups, don't go too wild with the weird angles. And he's like, no, we're shooting this like an art house indie film, and there's so many shots that in a rush production or a standard production, if it's a conversation between Cyril and his mom, it would be close-up shot, reverse shot, a wide angle, maybe with a little bit of an interesting tilt or whatever, or angle. And he kind of went through and was like, no, shoot it like it's Breaking Bad. Every shot is a little painting, there's so many shots that are like, particularly when people are feeling pressure on them, this angle that's become really popular of not a standard close-up with the camera even remotely flat, but this angle on the eyes, right? From slightly above, so that it feels like they have something pressing down on them, and one eye is maybe a little hidden by the bridge of their nose. Andor did that a ton. That became its like standard. This is our standard close-up, is this super artsy shot that makes you feel like the character is under a lot of pressure. And I think without analyzing it, I think it's one of the things that made people look at it and go, wow, this is serious adult Star Wars. Because we're used to seeing that cinematography in indie art house films. We're used to seeing it in prestige television, like Breaking Bad or a million other examples. And there are parts of Star Wars I love with all my heart that are like, some of the conversation scenes are like, yeah, we don't need to bother. It's shot, reverse shot, close up.
Right.
There are parts of prequels that are just like dazzling and beautiful. And then there's other scenes where I think George is like, they're having a conversation. So a wide master, close ups, shot, reverse shot. What do you want? Let's go. And I think running out of time, some of the Disney Plus shows do that too. And I think it's one of the things that really made Andor stand out as being like, this is peak television.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is, all of it is. I was going to, based on this question too, we talk about a look and IVO uses for the next decade. And I know this is a general part of the question, but, with so much Star Wars out there, we have so many different looks. And I think I like that more than I maybe even would have thought in 2015. Definitely back in the day. And I think that was one of the, prequels come along. And I was one of the ones of it doesn't feel like the same galaxy to me. It looks different. And that's, again, we talk about the designs. And I remember Pablo Hidalgo put something out years ago on probably on Twitter of just like, here's a 1955 model, or T-Bird. Here's a 1988, Chrysler. We used to design things differently. Like it looks different, But that aside, that's design stuff and production design. But like, you know what I mean? Where I was just like, I was one of the ones that were just like, I wish it looked like the original trilogy. Now I don't, and I celebrate all these shows. And you got the volume, the stagecraft stuff. I know you got that. You have Andor. You have Skeleton Crew. Like I kind of celebrate the different looks. How are you with the different looks and it still being the same galaxy?
I really like the different looks. I think that they help us tell us how we should feel about it. I think Skeleton Crew is shot like an 80s Amblin adventure, because that's what they wanted it to be. And I think it's I think the color grade is a little mushy. Like I would love to see like what is a print of that, like, on rich, deep 70 millimeter look like with saturation brought back in. And I think it would look even more fantastic. But I'm really happy with things being different. Of like, I'm complimenting Andor because it's like, we want people to feel like it's peak television. We want people to feel like all of these angers are telling us how to feel. So I think they should look different. I'm not sure if all of the kind of artsy put pressure on people's shots of Andor would have been great for like, dramatic shots of pensive Neil, as the camera slowly peeks over the bathtub on him. Like that would have been cool, but would it have made you feel, what either what Neil is feeling or what we want the audience to feel about Neil, because the cinematography can do both. It can be like, we want you to feel what the character is feeling. Or like sometimes when the camera's pulled way back, like the character doesn't realize this. The character doesn't know that they're a big, pathetic loser yet. But because of the way this is shot from far away, we see what they don't know about themselves yet, that they're a big, pathetic loser, So, yeah, you know what? The only thing I would say I want consistency is if they decide, if the Kinberg trilogy happens, even if they don't have the same director, it would be really cool to me if they had the same cinematographer. And if you change directors, that's hard. But I think one of the really cool things about the prequels is the good and the bad. And I think there's both. It's all David Tattersall, and it hangs together really, really, really well. Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, they all feel like the same universe at the same time, and they evolve and change based on the situations. And Phantom Menace is much brighter, and Revenge of the Sith is much darker, and Attack of the Clones has got everybody compliments the noir detective stuff, and that's sold by some classic noir shots. And Yoda's shot like Barbara Stanwyck in a noir a bunch of times with like, I'm pensive, and then the shades are drawn, and then got these slits of light on me. Like, it's, I think David Tattersall knocked it out of the park, and a lot of, with all the, like, it's too digital. Like they went out and got the real footage, the real volcano erupting in Revenge of the Sith, real sunsets, on the great shots in Attack of the Clones when, Anakin is looking for Padme, and the wide shot of him in the Jawas, and shadowy silhouettes, some of the best shots in Star Wars. So I guess I'm arguing for, controversially, maybe not, same director, same cinematographer for a trilogy.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would agree with you in a lot of different ways for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, I could be on board for that. I could be on board for that as well. And it's fun exercise to take a project and then go, all right, what does Andor look like if it was Rebels TV show? What does Skeleton Crew look like if it was shot there? I think that's kind of fun. Just to way to think about it, but they're all Star Wars stories at heart. So yeah, that's kind of an overall look at it. A lot of places to go. For me, yeah, I wanted to feel, we're talking about a trilogy specifically. Want it to feel like its own thing. Consistency within it might be a situation there to explore, but also just I'm glad that we have these different styles, whether all of them work for everybody. And we have the different styles that is a lot about saying, hey, you're the creative on this. What do you want to do? What do you want this to feel like? And that there's not too much of a house style. Not gonna. Maybe it's a random slinging of an arrow at the MCU, but I think to me, from an outside standpoint, it's a little more of a house style. I have mentioned before, one of the directors is a friend of my friend, and he's like, yeah, I show up and it's there how I shoot it. They tell me. I don't think that's necessarily true across the board, but that was an experience this one person had. So I don't want that. And I like where Star Wars has been, and excited to see where it goes.
Agreed. Yeah, like I know lots of people do not enjoy it, and I respect that. But I really like Doctor Strange, the sequel. I like them both, but that's Sam Raimi, so you get some more distinctive shots because it's Sam Raimi. Yeah, I consistency, support the characters, and then if there's any sort of house style lean to, is like every Star Wars story at some point is about making choices between the light and the dark, and I think being able to light things truly shadowy and truly dark when you need to, and then explode into beautiful, vibrant light when you need to, I think really does help tell that story of light and darkness, where you don't even realize, like, oh, I'm in the shadows. I'm only seeing a half of this person's face, but they crawl up to the light and it's vibrant and beautiful and real. And I think that helps a lot. Starfighter, I think that camera's going to move a lot because I think they want that to be a story about movement, and I think it's going to be whipping around Ryan Gosling like nobody's business.
You don't get Tom Cruise to hold the camera for one of the sequences if it's not moving. If it's not from an airplane.
All shaky cam. And we didn't even get a chance to talk about Kenobi, and I know a lot of people don't like the handheld. But I think that was one of the best choices that Kenobi made, because it was distinctive, and it felt like what Kenobi and Vader were feeling, and very, very unsteady.
I like that. Good call. Good pull. Great question, Ivo. Great question. Or IVO. Could be a droid. This could be a droid. That's a great question. No, Ivo, we appreciate that. Appreciate your support on Patreon. And more questions on the way. I put a call for new questions and, some maybe more shorter, direct. We're going to still have the essay, longer questions that we love here. A lot of great questions, so we'll pull more of them for future episodes. We're almost out of here, though. You can find us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. The podcast is available in a lot of spots. Just search, you'll find us. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/ForceCenter. Get into the Discord there as well. Call into our live shows Fridays. That's through Patreon as well. Follow me at Ken Napzok or my website, kennapzok.com. Sir, I know we're recording this a little bit ahead of time, so you might not know where you are. But where can they find information on Dead Media?
Yes, you can find information on Dead Media at antennareleasing.com/films/Dead Media. That's where all the dates and tickets for all of the roadshow screenings are. Hopefully we'll be coming to a city and a theater near you. This is the first leg of the tour. There's going to be a little bit more after a break, so hopefully we'll be able to announce even more cities. And I'm talking to you from the past, so I'm sure the screening in Glendale went great. And then we're coming to Burbank on Friday, and then the Frida Cinema in Santa Ana on Saturday, and Oakland on Monday, and then Seattle on Tuesday, and then heading to the East Coast. So that's where we're headed next. You can follow along on Instagram at Dead Media Movie, or follow me on all the different social media at Joseph Scrimshaw.
There you go. Go see the film. We'll talk to you next time. See you here on ForceCenter.